In the meantime, in between time, Rob, we got an interesting topic here. And it's a bit of a lament from me, and I'm guessing it'll be the same for you, Rob.
Now, Chris, let me ask you this. Did you ever cover college basketball? Like, did you ever? Because I covered it. Did you? Okay.
Because, and it's an interesting story. I think you know the story because you did a story on me for Oscar.
Right.
When I was going to leave sports writing and go into full-time Christian ministry, remember, I was covering the Cavs.
Right.
And I told
it was
the
a
paper,
big story. I remember when you were leaning towards leaving the business. That's why we wanted to write a story about you.
I had kind of pretty much turned down the New York Times at that point, and then they called me back, and things changed, and I ended up going there. But so I told I was writing for the Akron Beacon Journal, Rob, covering the Cavs, and I told them that, hey, I'm going into full-time ministry. I was going to go to seminary. And so since, I'm not staying in the business,
right,
I'd rather not be traveling like I did for the NBA. I'm recently married. And so they put me on the University of Akron.
You know what? I never knew that.
Yep.
Do you know that?
So I covered them for about a year, University of Akron. Football.
Wow. I did not know that, Chris, about your career, that you stepped away from the NBA and did college.
It was for a season. And I still did some Cavs games.
Okay.
And it was interesting because there came a point after many months where my wife and I, she got pregnant. We were all set to go out to California. She had a job out there, but she wasn't making a lot of money yet in her career. And I was just going to be in school full time, but she got pregnant with twins. So we prayed about it and thought about it too. We thought about it.
I was going to say, right.
Said,
I was going to say,
we prayed,
I think it was
but
both.
we thought we used the minds God gave us.
Yes, please. I was going to say,
right.
We got two buns in the
right.
oven. What are we going to do with
we
that?
cutting our money. And so I decided I was going to stay in the business. And I was like, man, I should have went to the New York Times. You know what I mean? And Rob, almost a year to the day, I told them kind of thanks, but no thanks. They called me out of the blue and were like, hey, you still going to seminary? I was like, yeah, eventually. They're like, well, why don't you come work for us at the New York Times until you go? So
who was that? Who was the sports editor?
Neil Amder.
Yeah, I remember Neil.
You remember Neil?
Uh-huh. That's awesome.
Great guy.
Yeah.
Great guy. But yeah, that's how it went. And so, that's when I covered college.
I was going to say, and I covered St. John's. I've told you 1,000 times. Me, Bill Roden, and Michael Kay, the Yankee announcer.
That's a heck of a
I know. Is that
group,
unbelievable?
Man.
The three of us.
Like a legendary group.
Going covering Mark Jackson and Walter Berry. Luke Carnesecca was the coach. I mean, it was big-time college basketball, the Big East, Chris, and a woman named Sandy Keenan was on the beat. Yeah, it was big. God. And I was the youngest guy, on the beat. But so I had a taste of covering college basketball.
Well, Rob, you know this, and I think our listeners like when we kind of take them behind the veil. But, Rob, obviously I love covering the NBA. I mean, that was the pinnacle, as far as what, covering the finals and the All-Star games and all that stuff. Or just pro sports in general. I covered the World Series as well in MLB All-Star games. But I enjoyed, and I'm guessing it was the same with you, I loved covering college sports.
Yeah.
And I loved covering high school sports. Like the experiences I had covering both of those levels. I mean, obviously high school, you're keeping your own stats. You're not, you don't get all the bells and whistles and fringe benefits you get with covering the pros, but it was enjoyable. It was really a good time, and I would imagine it was the same for you.
Same thing. Julian McWilliams, who's a mentee of mine, Chris, who covers the Boston Red Sox for the Boston Globe.
Yep.
And Julian was trying to get into the business and was having a hard time getting that first job. And I told Julian the first one is the hardest job to get.
Right.
So they got offered him like a high school job in like Iowa somewhere. He's from Harlem. He didn't want to go.
Right.
So I was mad at him because I was like, you got to get your foot in the door.
Take what you get, right.
Right, even if it's in Iowa or whatever. So the next one, like it took like 2 more years, Chris, for him to get.
So he was out of work for 2 years?
So, he's doing other stuff. You know what I mean? Like while he was still trying to pursue. It didn't happen overnight. But anyway, a long story short is that he got a job in South Carolina covering high schools. And guess what? He absolutely loved it. And just what you were talking about, taking your own stats, learning the people, the coaches, all that. Like, you think oh my God, I covered high school. You don't know better, Chris.
It's fun.
Right? It was.
That's
you don't know
thing.
better.
I didn't know what it was like to cover the pros at that time.
Right.
You know what I mean? Now I might, if I had to go back to covering high schools, I might feel like, what?
Can't go back.
Keep my own stats. Right. What are you talking about? You better bring me some quotes.
Right.
I got to go get my own quotes. Oh. All right, but Rod, you brought that up because this week, we've said tonight's the first night where NBA basketball is going on again. Obviously, baseball is just starting spring training and NFL is done. So it's kind of like there's not much going on. But college basketball was going on. And let's keep it real. We're talking about men's college basketball. Because I would say, Rob, if I'm talking about college basketball right now, the player I want to see more than anybody is Caitlin Clark.
Right.
I like Paige Buchers, too, from Connecticut, UConn. The teams I want to see are UConn, LSU with Angel Reese, and South Carolina. Like, those are the teams I'm talking about, including the men that I really want to see. So women's basketball is actually enjoying a surge.
More so than
Rob,
men's.
Men's is plummeting. I know there's some of the diehards that are still into men's college basketball, but Rob, the fact that all week we've been saying nothing's going on, that's just evidence. I mean, college basketball games have been going on.
Remember, I lamented the other day. Don't you remember saying this feels so weird? There's nothing going on, and you're right. College basketball is just marching along.
Rob, and you know this, and even some of the younger people remember when it was at least far more popular or viable. But when we were coming up, I mean, college basketball was as big as pros in the 80s, even though that was the Showtime era and that was, the NBA was really surging and coming back. College basketball was huge. Phi Slamma Jamma with Olajuwon and Drexler, Ewing at Georgetown. I mean, it was great. And the
Chris
guy
Mullin
stayed.
at St. John's.
Yeah, the Big East was crazy.
Right.
St. John's was big time. Georgetown, Syracuse with Pearl Washington.
Yes.
I mean, it was
and
awesome.
we knew the team, Chris. There's a difference, right? We knew. And we knew the players. Like, everybody had 2 or 3 guys, and we all knew them.
You knew them year to year.
Right, year to year. They played 3 or 4 years together most of the time. And I think that was what's different. And now you look up, you don't know who's on the team. Like it's hot or cold. You don't even know who's on that team. No, you don't know. And here's the other thing, Rob. The best player, first, I think a couple of things have led to their demise. You alluded to one of them in that we used to know going into the season who were the best players. Yep. What teams were going to be best. And, they got Jordan coming in and they still got Worthy and Sam Perkins and Jimmy Black and all. Like, you knew the squads. So that continuity made you, be into it. And then I think, Rob, now we know the best college-age players are actually in the NBA. Yep, that's a big thing. And then, right, you can't even say, even with the one-and-done room, you can't even say, well, at least the best 19-year-olds are in college. Not necessarily. Last year, Rob, only one of the top 5 draft picks played in college. And that was the kid that got drafted by Charlotte. Brandon Williams. I'm messing up his name. Oh, yeah. The kid. Miller. Brandon Miller. Yeah, they got drafted by Charlotte. And I'm going to be real. Is he doing anything? He's actually doing okay. He's better. You remember Summer League, he started off struggling. But he's been playing well. I think he's averaging about 15. Okay. He looks like he's, what I'm going to say? Okay. I guess, and I said that because Charlotte is so bad, I'm not paying attention to them. Yeah, right? You know what I mean? So that's why I don't know how he's playing. Yeah, even with LaMelo Ball, I mean, they're one of the, they're not an interesting watch. Now, this kid's averaging 16 and a half points. Okay. So but he's having a decent rookie season. Looks like he's got some promise. But, so you got the best players are in the pros at that age. And then even the best guys right out of high school, first you got the European players, of course, that are
obviously playing well and coming into the league. And then, Rob, last year you had the Thompson twins that went to G League, Ignite, Scoot Henderson, G League, Ignite. Like, you had 3 players. You've got guys going to the G League, guys going to Overtime Elite and things like that, these minor leagues. And so you don't even have, like, the best freshmen necessarily in the world.
Yeah, that's
and
a
so
good point.
We don't know who the kids are. We don't know how good they are, right? And obviously the level of play can't be great because there's so much, new. They don't know each other. They're not playing together. The coaches have to coach a different way because the kids are leaving so quickly. And so, I mean, Rob, nobody, and I'm sorry to offend people with this. Nobody cares about men's college basketball until March Madness. And even that, I think, Rob, I got to keep it real because I'll be into it. I'll be watching the games. The upsets are exciting. We did it. Last year there was a lot of upsets. It was fun. But, Rob, I think the gambling is what keeps the March Madness big.
Yeah, the gambling is huge, as you know.
And now, obviously, it's legal, so I think
more can be involved in it. But I don't disagree, Chris. I used to watch college basketball, and I sit here, and if I told you that I watched a full college basketball game like the last 5 years, I couldn't even say that.
March Madness?
No, March Madness. I mean, other than that, like other than the March Madness game. I'm just saying, like, do you watch have you watched a college basketball game, Chris? Just
I've
start
watched
to finish.
Few,
okay, so you have,
but not it's still not a lot. I mean, obviously you're keeping track of some of the players,
right? But most of them aren't even playing.
You go back 5
in
years,
there.
maybe Zion. I don't know if he was right. That
Zion
was that was the end of when it was really.
Chris, bullseye.
Okay, I got to see this kid.
I watched Zion play. And that's been 5 years, right? 4 or 5 years. How long?
About that.
About perfect. I watched a full Zion game.
Yep.
But since then,
it's. I mean, and it's a problem, Rob. It just is so far below. I mean, even you mentioned Zion. Heck, Ben Simmons created a buzz. Now, I'm not saying if I don't know who even the top player in the country is now, high school player. If he goes to college and he's great and he's charismatic and his game is pretty,
maybe we'll pay attention.
I'm not saying they can't catch. Yeah, he can't catch.
But I'll give you another example. Bronny. Have you watched like okay? And obviously he got. I
would like to see Bronny. I haven't seen when their games are on.
Yeah, I would like to as well.
I would watch Bronny.
I've seen the highlights. You know what I mean, Chris? But I haven't seen a full USC game basketball, and they're not that good this year.
No, they're 10. Well, they were 10 and 16. I don't know
they're not that. They're not that good. And I think the other night, the last game they played, I think Bronny
he's only
had 2
playing
points.
about 20 minutes a night.
Yeah, and he had 2 points in their loss or whatever. So it just hasn't been that appetizing.
We just talked about men's college basketball, and if in our eyes there's a demise. What are your thoughts?
No doubt. Let's start, Chris, with Kyle. He's in Houston. You're on the Odd Couple, Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Kyle?
What's up, gentlemen? Thank you for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
I think you guys said it without saying it, I guess. It's the lack of stars. I mean, you got the gunslinger from Alabama that's in Charlotte now. You got the Grady Dick who is up in Toronto. You got 1 year and not even 1 month of these names that people are really paying attention to. And then by the time you actually start caring about them, they're in the draft and they're drafted, mid-round, second round, whatever. And it just kind of gets swept under the rug. So you need stars back there. You need names, like you guys said. And then I think it's a quick fix because you can't do like NFL and the NCAA where you need the 2-year eligibility. Maybe you could do like a age limit, like you got to be 20, 21.
Yeah, I disagree with that. I don't think that. I think people should have. I understand college basketball's dilemma, but nowhere else in the world, if you have a prodigy, do you hold them back other than sports? If a 9-year-old can play a concert piano, be a concert pianist, and she could go play at Carnegie Hall, nobody says, "Oh, wait a minute, you're 9. What are you doing?" No, you don't do that. And I'm not saying this for everybody, Chris. Only prodigies. Prodigies should not be hampered by some age situation.
Yeah, no,
you understand what I'm saying?
I've always been look, do I think a lot of these kids that come out aren't ready?
No, they make a mistake. I get that.
For those that are, I mean, I don't think they should be hindered. I agree with you on that. But I don't think nobody's coming to save college basketball.
Oh, no, I agree.
The NBA is not coming to save college basketball.
No.
I mean, I don't know if there's any fixing it, Rob, because it's not going back to guys being there 2, 3, 4 years.
Those
not
days
the best
are over.
players.
Right. If you're there, that means normally you can't play. Or they're not hiring.
Yeah, you're not ready for the NBA yet.
Right. If you're still
That's
there.
basically what it means.
Yep. Brian in Phoenix, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, B?
Hey, thanks a lot, man. This is amazing. This is twice in a week I'm getting to.
Unbelievable. You got through. Look at that.
Unbelievable, man. I definitely think, there's a significant demise in college basketball, and it's sad that, I can't name the players on these teams now.
That's sad. I know. I feel the same way. It's sad.
It really is. I mean, I came up during that era back in the day where you had, Hoya, Paranoia, St. John.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, man. Awesome.
You not only did you know those players, but you also knew when those games were going to.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
And you were ready to engage. And, with the one and done and then these other minor leagues, it's taken away from that. And it really is sad. Now there's more parity. Now you can't dismiss a lower ranked school like a Florida International.
Right. Well, because they're keeping their kids 3 and 4 years, so they may be smarter players. They certainly got more chemistry. They understand the offense better, and they're mid-majors. That's why, Rob, we've debated when is a mid-major going to win. And I think it'll happen. But, yeah, it's different, man.
No doubt. Edwin in Nashville, you're on the Odd Couple Fox Sports Radio. What's up, Edwin?
Hey, I appreciate it, man. I really enjoy what y'all bring to the table, man. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you, brother.
Yep.
But I'm completely with you all. Men's basketball has diminished so much, man. You don't know any of these kids anymore. When I was growing up, man, we had like Illinois, and when they had Marcus Liberty and Kendall Gill and Nick Anderson, and we trying to see
you
if
knew
they
the
gonna
whole
go
team,
undefeated, man.
Right.
Then you got Michigan on the other side with Glenn that was busting them upside the head and vault. But see, you don't know these cats no more, and you don't hear them. What I watch now is women's basketball.
Wow.
The South Carolina Gamecocks, Sagans, Jenkins, Johnson.
And he knows all the players. He knows all of them, right?
Man,
well, it's almost, Rob, it's almost a reverse.
Thanks for the call.
Of what used to. Like, you can argue college basketball for women is getting to a place where it's bigger than the WNBA.
But you know what's crazy, Chris? Really? If you remember, that's kind of what happened in tennis. Women's tennis was the thing to watch more so than men's tennis. You remember?
Serena and Venus.
Yes, like that was the interesting tennis, and men's tennis was like the same two guys, and it wasn't compelling, and people just I don't know. Men's tennis had fallen off.
No, that's a good point. That's a good call. All right, it is the Odd Couple, 877-99 on Fox. You'll get a chance to weigh in next hour. We got Joe Varden around the corner, friend of the show, covers the Athletic or the NBA for the Athletic. But first, Steve DeSager with the update. Steve.
Hello, gentlemen.
Steve, how much college basketball do you watch? UCLA and USC, do you watch them?
Yeah, I do watch UCLA, but nationally, I watch less than I used to.
Unbelievable, right?
And you're right about the names, because I think aside from the Purdue Center that's on TV right now on FS1, Zach Edey, I don't think there's a big name in men's college basketball.
No.
Period.
Yeah.
This guy, just because he's a big man, that helps.
Right.
And he stayed in school.
Right, but other than that, we're at a loss. We're at a loss.